How can a bank be robbed without stepping inside? Imagine a world where millions vanish into thin air. Not with guns and masks, but with keystrokes and code. This isn't a Hollywood thriller, it's the chilling reality of the Carbanak heist, the biggest cybercrime the world has ever seen. For years, a shadowy group of cybercriminals, dubbed Carbanak, terrorized the financial world. They moved like phantoms, leaving no trace but empty vaults and bewildered investigators. Their weapon of choice, not crowbars or explosives, but something far more insidious, malware. This is the story of how they did it. The year was 2013, a year that would mark a significant turning point in the digital age. The internet, once a playground for tech enthusiasts, was rapidly becoming the backbone of the global economy. It was no longer just a tool for communication or a source of information. It had evolved into the very lifeblood of modern commerce and industry. Banks, businesses, and individuals alike entrusted their sensitive data to the digital realm. Every transaction, every piece of personal information was now stored in the vast, invisible network of servers and data centers that spanned the globe. It was a gold rush, and among the prospectors were a new breed of outlaw cybercriminals. These digital bandits were not after gold or jewels. They sought something far more valuable, data. With the right information, they could unlock bank accounts, steal identities, and wreak havoc on an unprecedented scale.
It all started with a simple email, an email that, on the surface, seemed harmless enough. But beneath its benign appearance lay a trap, meticulously crafted to deceive. A cleverly disguised message designed to look like an official communication, complete with logos and signatures that appeared authentic. It was the kind of email that anyone might receive and think nothing of. Landed in the inbox of an unsuspecting bank employee. This employee, like many others, was busy with the daily grind, juggling multiple tasks and responsibilities. An attachment promising a routine software update hid a sinister secret. It was a masterstroke of deception, preying on the trust and routine of the digital workplace. Hidden within the lines of code was Carbanak, a malicious program ready to unleash havoc. Unknowingly, the employee clicked. In that moment, the seemingly innocuous action set off a chain reaction that would have far-reaching consequences. And with that single click, the doors to the financial world swung open for Carbanak. The virus began its insidious work, infiltrating systems, gathering data, and laying the groundwork for a heist that would shake the foundations of the banking industry. The age of digital phantoms had truly begun.
The Carbanak malware was unlike anything security experts had seen before. It was a new breed of cyber threat, one that combined the cunning of traditional hacking with the sophistication of modern technology. This wasn't just a simple virus or a piece of ransomware, it was a meticulously crafted tool designed for one purpose: to infiltrate and exploit financial institutions on a massive scale. It was sophisticated, stealthy, and ruthlessly efficient. The creators of Carbanak had clearly invested a significant amount of time and resources into its development. They had studied the architecture of banking systems, identified their vulnerabilities, and crafted a piece of malware that could slip through the cracks unnoticed. This was not the work of amateurs, it was the handiwork of seasoned cybercriminals who knew exactly what they were doing. Once inside a bank system, it spread like a virus, infecting computers, servers, and even ATMs. The malware was designed to move laterally across the network, gaining access to more and more systems as it went. It could intercept communications, manipulate data, and even control physical devices. The banks were completely unaware of the extent of the breach until it was too late. Carbanak wasn't interested in petty theft. The cybercriminals behind it had no interest in small-time heists or quick cash grabs. They were playing a long game, one that required patience, precision, and a deep understanding of their targets. They bypassed high-tech security systems with ease, leaving no trace of their presence. Their goal was not to steal a few $1,000s, but to siphon off millions, if not billions, from the world's largest financial institutions. These cybercriminals had their sights set on something far grander: systemic plunder. They aimed to exploit the very foundations of the banking system, to manipulate transactions, and to transfer vast sums of money into their own accounts. They operated with a level of sophistication and coordination that was unprecedented in the world of cybercrime. Their attacks were meticulously planned and executed, leaving the banks scrambling to respond. They studied the bank's internal workings, learning their procedures, their security protocols, even the habits of their employees. They knew when the banks were most vulnerable, and they exploited those weaknesses to their advantage. They monitored security camera footage, intercepted internal communications, and gathered intelligence on every aspect of the bank's operations. This was not a random attack, it was a carefully orchestrated campaign of espionage and theft. Weeks turned into months as Carbanak lurked within the bank's systems, silently observing, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. They were patient, knowing that the longer they remained undetected, the more damage they could inflict. They watched as the banks conducted their daily operations, looking for patterns and weaknesses that they could exploit. They were like predators, stalking their prey, waiting for the right moment to pounce. They had become ghosts in the machine, invisible to even the most sophisticated security measures. They moved through the bank systems with ease, bypassing firewalls and security protocols as if they didn't exist. They were undetectable, leaving no trace of their presence. The banks had no idea that they were being watched, that their every move was being monitored by a group of highly skilled cybercriminals. The stage was set for one of the most audacious cyber heists in history. Kabbanak's methods were as cunning as they were audacious. They employed a three-pronged attack, each more brazen than the last. This cybercriminal group, operating from the shadows, orchestrated some of the most sophisticated and coordinated cyber heists the world had ever seen. Their operations were meticulously planned, leaving little room for error, and their targets were none other than the financial institutions that formed the backbone of the global economy. First, they manipulated ATMs. By remotely controlling these cash machines, they forced them to dispense money at specific times, with their accomplices waiting to collect the loot. This tactic, known as jackpotting, involved infecting the ATMs with malware that allowed the hackers to take control from afar. The accomplices, often unaware of the full scope of the operation, were instructed to be at the right place at the right time to collect the cash. This method not only ensured a steady flow of money, but also minimized the risk of getting caught. It was a scene straight out of a heist film, except the thieves weren't even in the same country. The global nature of their operations made it incredibly difficult for law enforcement agencies to track them down. They could be orchestrating a heist in one country while sitting comfortably in another, thousands of miles away. This level of coordination and anonymity was unprecedented and showcased the evolving nature of cybercrime. Second, they hijacked bank accounts. Carbanak would inflate account balances, creating phantom funds out of thin air. By gaining access to the bank's internal systems, they could manipulate account balances to show more money than was actually there. This not only allowed them to steal large sums without raising immediate suspicion, but also created a smokescreen that made it harder for the banks to detect the fraud. The hackers were essentially creating money out of nothing, a digital alchemy that turned the financial system on its head. They then siphoned off the excess before the banks even realized what was happening. The stolen funds were quickly transferred to a network of dummy accounts, making it nearly impossible to trace the money back to its source. The speed and efficiency of these transactions left bank employees baffled and scrambling to understand what had happened. By the time the fraud was discovered, the money was long gone, dispersed across a web of accounts that spanned the globe. Finally, they orchestrated digital heists. Millions of dollars were transferred to dummy accounts scattered across the globe. These digital heists were the culmination of their efforts, combining their skills in hacking, social engineering, and financial manipulation. The hackers would identify vulnerable banks, infiltrate their systems, and initiate large-scale transfers to accounts they controlled. These accounts were often set up in countries with lax banking regulations, making it easier to withdraw the funds without attracting attention, then withdrawn as quickly as they appeared. The money was often withdrawn in cash, making it even harder to trace. The hackers would use a network of mules to collect the cash and transport it to safe locations. This method ensured that the stolen funds were quickly converted into a form that was difficult to track, further complicating efforts to recover the money. The speed and precision of these operations were a testament to the hackers' expertise and their ability to stay one step ahead of law enforcement. It was a financial shell game on a global scale. The Carbanak Group had turned the world into their playground, exploiting the weaknesses of the financial system to amass a fortune. Their actions not only caused significant financial losses, but also highlighted the vulnerabilities in the banking sector. The sheer audacity and scale of their operations served as a wake-up call for financial institutions worldwide, prompting them to strengthen their security measures and stay vigilant against the ever-evolving threat of cybercrime. For months, Carbanak operated with impunity. Their crimes were so audacious, so flawlessly executed that many banks initially had no idea they had been robbed. Transactions, disguised as legitimate transfers, vanished into a labyrinth of offshore accounts and shell corporations. But whispers of suspicion soon turned into shouts of alarm. As the scale of the heist became apparent, panic spread through the financial world. banks scrambled to assess the damage while security experts worked feverishly to track down the perpetrators. The game was afoot.
Baganov's arrest sent shockwaves through the cybercrime underworld. It was a major victory for law enforcement, but the fight was far from over. Finally, in 2018, a breakthrough. The alleged mastermind behind Karbanak, a Russian national named Alexei Baganov, was arrested in Spain. The trail led them on a digital manhunt, spanning continents and diving deep into the darkest corners of the internet. The investigation into the Karbanak heist was a global effort, involving law enforcement agencies from across the world. The FBI, Interpol, Europol, and countless other cybersecurity teams joined forces to hunt down the cybercriminals.